sir. My name's Jeremy. I'm from Respiratory. Just came to see how your secretions are doing. Your nurse thought you might need a little suctioning. I'm just going to take a look at your wristband here and verify your birthday. And we're going to take a listen to your lungs. You're sounding pretty crackly, so I think we better suction you out and get some of that stuff out. So what we're going to do is I'm going to disconnect the ventilator briefly, and we'll feed a tube down your breathing tube here, make you cough a little bit and suck a bunch of that junk out, and then reconnect the ventilator so you can keep breathing comfortably, okay? So I'm going to turn your oxygen up to 100% while we get set up. And I'm going to make sure my suction is connected. And I'm going to turn that pressure on to 150. We'll verify that by occluding the end of the tube. Looks like we're at 150. I'm going to gather my open suction kit, lubrication, open that up, and my sterile water, open that up as well. Now I'm going to open my kit using the sterile technique here. Pop open the box, making sure not to touch the inside. And I'll pour a little water in there. Move my catheter, and we'll get our gloves on. So I'm just touching the folded cuff here. Touching that inner part of the cuff as I slide it on. So I've got one sterile hand now. I can touch my other glove with. Fold that over. Okay, take my catheter out. We'll get some lubrication on that. So this is going to be my dirty hand here, my right hand. So I'm going to spread that lubrication on the catheter a little bit with my sterile hand. Use that hand to pick up my catheter. Now we'll connect this end to our suction tubing. So dirty hand on the tubing, and we'll make that connection. Okay, we've been oxygenating long enough, so I'm going to silence my vent alarms, and we're going to disconnect. Make sure that's not touching anything. Feed my catheter down my ET tube. I'm going to go either to the end of the ET tube or until I hit resistance. Then withdraw a little bit, applying suction. Twist the catheter a little bit as I come out. Fully withdraw, and then we will reattach our ventilator circuit. If we need to go again, we'll give them at least 5 or 10 breaths, hyperoxygenating beforehand. And we can flush out our catheter, assessing the amount, color, and consistency of our sputum. And we're going to make sure our vitals are stable during and after, and we're going to make sure we return to all of our previous vent settings and our ventilation status once we're done. And then we can flush our catheter as we did, and we'll dispose of our waste here. This can go in infectious waste if there's transmittable disease or something like that. And we'll throw away our gloves and catheter, as well as our sterile water. Okay, sir, I think because of how often we're having to suction you, it would be a good idea to set up a closed suction system so we don't have to keep taking you off the ventilator every time we do some suctioning. So I'm going to get that set up here for you. So we're going to disconnect briefly. And So we're going to get that closed system connected here. So I'm going to disconnect you. And we will reattach here. Good. Now we're all connected. We're going to hyperoxygenate. Make sure my suction pressure is set at 150. It is. We'll connect our suction tubing. Make sure our button is unlocked. That looks good to go. Okay, so same idea. We're going to stick that tube down the breathing tube to suck out some of that junk, but this time we won't have to disconnect the ventilator, so hopefully it'll be a little bit more comfortable. I'm going to silence my ventilator alarms, and we'll get ready to go down. We're going to advance quickly, going either to the end of the tube or until we hit resistance. And we'll pull back a little bit, apply suction, a little twist, and we're going to make sure we withdraw until we see the black ring on this side of the catheter, so we make sure that we're completely withdrawn. We'll be assessing our vitals during, make sure we're not desaturating or poorly tolerating our suction. And we're going to make sure we return to our normal ventilation on the ventilator here when we're done. If we need to do multiple passes, we'll make sure we're oxygenating in between. And if we need to, we can flush out our catheter a little bit with some sterile water or saline here. And we'll only instill that into the airway if we need to. And once we're done, we'll give a little flush here. Put some of that through and rinse out the catheter. Take that off, and when we're done, we're going to make sure our suction button is locked. Everything has returned to previous status. We'll take another listen here, and we'll evaluate our sputum consistency, color, and amount. Okay, seems like we're sounding a lot better, so we'll keep an eye on how those lungs sound going forward and follow up on your chest x-rays to make sure nothing's changing. So I'm going to throw away my gloves, decontaminate, and document